And I hope that everyone had a nice short break. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Jonathan Payne, a faculty member in geological sciences. Our group studies carbonate deposition and diagenesis. And we work at the platform scale all the way down to the grain scale. And so the next two talks from our group will address two of those aspects. One modeling at the platform scale and another using machine learning to interpret carbonate thin sections at the grain scale for both depositional and diagenetic purposes. Before I introduce the first speaker, I just wanted to let everyone know that we've decided that we will go through the next three student talks. And those should be over at about 11:30, which was our intended time to conclude the meeting. Allegra and Ken's talks will be available by video after the meeting. We appreciate that the meeting will have lasted about 3.5 hours. And I suspect at that point people have other commitments. And so we won't extend beyond the 11:30 endpoint. So without further ado, we will move on to shallower and warmer depositional environments. And I'm pleased to introduce Pulkit Singh. Pulkit is a fourth-year PhD student working with me and collaborating with Tapan on parts of this project. And I will let him talk to you about carbonate forward modeling. So take it away, Pulkit.
Thank you. I'll try to share my screen. Okay. I'll start now. So thanks a lot, John, for your introduction. And so for this presentation, I'll showcase the first principle modeling approach that we are developing in our group to model basins which are carbonate dominated. And the key motivation behind this work comes from the fact that 60% of world's oil and 40% of the natural gas is hosted in carbonate reservoirs. And the unique thing about carbonate sediments is that they're precipitated in situ by biological elements, and they get cemented relatively quickly. And these sediments are also prone to alteration, making it challenging to explore and characterize from a reservoir quality standpoint. That being said, the goal of today's presentation is to model the evolution of carbonate sedimentary systems using first principles. And I'll explain in detail what that means. But before that, I really want to focus on the hydrocarbon aspect of carbonate platforms. And historically, carbonate platforms have been a target for hydrocarbon exploration due to the fact that elements of a hydrocarbon system like source, seal, reservoir, rock generally tend to occur in the same sedimentary system, thus making them a lucrative target for hydrocarbon when looking for hydrocarbon deposits. And to really hit home that point, I'm showing two images on your screen. The image on the left is a giant gas reservoir in Southeast Asia. It is called the Malampaya buildup. The proven reserves are 90 billion cubic meters of gas. The platform on the right is Tengiz carbonate platform. It is a giant oil field, and proven reserves are 13 billion barrels of oil reserves. So historically, these isolated buildups dominated by carbonate sediments have been a target for oil and gas exploration. That being said, there has been a renewed interest into the exploration for hydrocarbons in isolated carbonate platforms in the last decade as well. So the picture which I'm showing is a picture of the Mediterranean Sea. And the yellow dots represent isolated carbonate platforms in the Mediterranean Sea and the Adriatic Sea. And the recent giant gas discoveries in the Mediterranean Sea and in Southeast Asia have renewed interest in exploring for these buildups. Most notable of them are the Zohr and Calypso discoveries. Zohr is operated by Eni and its partners, and these are big gas discoveries made in isolated carbonate platform in Eastern Mediterranean. And that the red box shows the location of these platforms. These are in the Levantine basin, so offshore Egypt, Cyprus, and Israel. Um, so gas discoveries in Southeast Asia have also renewed the interest in isolated carbonate platforms. However, when characterizing these isolated carbonate platforms or carbonate sedimentary systems in general, the basin models which are created to understand the depositional facies and to understand the reservoir quality facies, um, one of the key challenges is constraining the parameter values. And what I mean by that is the input parameters like subsidence, sediment production potential, and other things which are used in creating basin models dominated by carbonates. So to really explain on what I just said if you look at this image which I'm showing, this is the image of a basin model dominated by carbonate sediments. Um, uh, and this is a platform in the Dolomites, but using this image, we can see that this image developed from a stratigraphic forward modeling package uses many inputs. And because of the use of many inputs, it creates a lot of uncertainty in the distribution of sedimentary facies. Tending from that challenge of including many inputs, there arises a problem of non-uniqueness. Is that how those parameters interact with each other, and what parameters impact the overall distribution of facies the most, and what parameters impact it the least? We don't know that when we are using these heavy-duty sedimentary forward modeling packages. And again, the final challenge is the computational expense of using these packages. So what is the solution for that? And the way this problem of non-uniqueness and many inputs and unknowns can be, especially in the carbonate sedimentary systems, can be circumvented by looking at a very unique aspect of carbonate sedimentary system, which is the platform margin. So if you can see the cursor, the platform margin in carbonate sedimentary systems decides where the distribution of facies will be. So in this figure, as the platform margin moves, the distribution of facies is symmetrical around that margin. This basic idea can be used to linearize the dynamic system model, which is used by these stratigraphic forward modeling packages. So I'll build up on this idea that these margins, the movement of this margin, can be used to characterize the distribution of sedimentary facies. So let's build a model. So we start with a simple linear model, which of a carbonate platform, which has a width W and height H. And on top of that, we apply a sediment production parameters of sediment production potential of K and the width of the carbonate factory where the sediment is being produced at W delta. When we do that, we apply a subsidence function to create the new geometry. And at every time step, we use the same subsidence function and sediment production and the width of the carbonate factory to create new geometries through time. And as we can see, the platform margin is prograding, but at some point it starts to retrograde and drown as well. So using this simple observation of tracking the platform margin, we come up with a simple ordinary differential equation to track the change in width of carbonate platform through time. We don't need to go into detail what the differential equation does, but the key observation that I really want you to appreciate is that the change in width of the platform with time is inversely proportional to the height of the platform, which means as the height of the platform increases, the rate of increase in width of the platform decrease, and eventually it turns negative to more retrogradational motifs that we see. So we are taking this observation and applying it to an outcrop and see how it works. So if you can, so this is a loop major reef complex. It is an outcrop carbonate platform exposed in Mallorca, Spain. In this carbonate platform, the red dotted line, dashed line, shows the trajectory of the reef margin. Since we know the trajectory of the reef margin, we know the simple distribution of facies, which is at the back of the reef margin and to the basinal side, which is on the right. So as I had shown in the previous equation, we can characterize simple parameters like subsidence by calculating the thickness of the platform, thickness of the sediments accumulated in the inner platform. We can calculate sediment production potential, width of the carbonate factory as well, just by looking at the outcrop. So these parameters, all of these can be well constrained using the model which we are using. The advantage of that is that when we ran our model for this carbonate platform, with the parameter values which were easily obtained from the outcrops, our model performs very well. If you, in the image shown, that it tracks the actual platform trajectory really well. The actual platform trajectory is shown in the orange, and the simulated model trajectory is in blue. However, as I had mentioned before, our model also allows us to explore the parameter values which are important for characterizing reservoir quality facies. And the plot on the left shows the interaction between sediment production potential on the y-axis and the width of that carbonate factory on the x-axis. The red star shows the location of the loop major reef complex, which the example which I showed before. However, it is using our model, we can actually understand the interaction between these parameters. And the reason I'm emphasizing on this is because sediment production potential, which is on the y-axis, controls the amount of skeletal grain production at the margin reef factory. And those sediment which are mostly consisted of skeletal grains form the major reservoir facies in carbonate sediments. So if we can characterize the sediment production potential well, we can characterize the distribution of reservoir quality facies well as well. So that being said, to touch a little bit upon the uncertainty, the width of the carbonate factory, it can be characterized well with an uncertainty within a few meters. And so, for example, if we can characterize it in, for example, a couple of meters, similar to the example I showed, we can actually characterize the sediment production potential as well. And this is one of the advantages of the model we are using, that we can quantify the sediment production potential, which is up till now is a big challenge in characterizing carbonate sediment systems and building basin models. That being said, I'd like to shift attention from linear platforms to isolated carbonate platforms, which are generally circular or oval in shape. The figure on the top shows a qualitative picture of an isolated platform. The typical isolated platform consists of a reef, which is on the margin, where majority of the sediment is being produced. That sediment is shed dominantly on the platform slopes and somewhat in the inner platform. The platform interior and the basinal sediments are usually muddier as compared to reef and slope sediments, which are more skeletal grain rich and form better reservoir quality facies as well. So the picture on the right is the image of Sella Massive, which is exposed isolated carbonate platform in the Dolomites in Italy. So the three qualities which are associated with isolated carbonate platforms is that they nucleate on volcanic edifice, host fault blocks, and they can actually grow on any kind of seafloor morphology if it is in the photic zone. The second aspect of isolated platforms is that they are upward building, and most of the sediment is produced on the reefs and is supplied to the slope and the platform interior. And the third aspect is that these are mostly dominated by carbonate sediments only because they are distant from continental shelves and are generally not affected by sedimentation, classic sedimentation from the continental margins. So how we are approaching this problem of modeling evolution of isolated platforms. So for this model, we are assuming a truncated cone. And as the truncated cone or the isolated platform grows in height, it tends to prograde as shown by these first two figures. However, as it is at a terminal height, it tends to retrograde as well. And this is what we are intending to model for the evolution of isolated carbonate platform. So one of the key features that we are interested in exploring is that how the margin trajectory, which is easily observed in outcrops, as from the example I showed, and in the seismic as well, is controlled by sediment production, or the K factor, which I showed in the previous example. The second aspect we are interested in exploring is how the trajectory of that platform correlates with the height of the platform, as I had shown for the linear platform, that as platform increases in height, it tends to retrograde and eventually drown. And third, how does the margin trajectory is correlated with the nature of carbonate factory. And here I want to re-emphasize the images I showed before is that, for example, for the Malampaya buildup, which is the giant natural gas field, is dominated by metazone reef factories. And they behave differently, have different characteristics, and undergo different kind of diagenesis and create different reservoir, carbonate reservoirs. However, for the Tengiz, which is in the pre-Caspian, is dominated by microbial boundstone factory, which again creates different reservoirs and different reservoir quality. So we are interested in comparing for what is the impact of biology on the margin trajectory. And finally, we are interested in comparing what is the impact of the eccentricity or the shape of the carbonate platform on the margin trajectory, so the geometrical side. But before I move on, I want to emphasize the fact that as we had done similarly for the linear platforms, the rate of change of width of isolated platform with time is inversely proportional to height square as compared to height only for the linear platforms. And due to this, one can imagine that if we have an isolated platform and a linear platform growing together, the linear platform will grow faster and change its trajectory much quicker than an isolated platform. That being said, I'll move on to conclude this talk to focus on the next steps that we are interested in pursuing for the isolated platform work. But before I begin, I really want to mention that the linear platform work, which I showed, we modeled different kinds of impacts on linear platform geometries. That work is already accepted for publication and will be out in a couple of months. So if you're interested in using these models for your work, please don't hesitate to contact us. That being said, for the isolated platform work, we are interested in creating a deterministic framework for modeling these isolated platforms. And what do I mean by that? I mean is that first, we are using simple analytical equation to model first order controls on platform trajectory. For example, what is the control of sediment production potential, width of the carbonate factory, and the subsidence and slope angle. And then using those well-constrained parameters as inputs in stratigraphic forward modeling packages to understand the impact of sediment transport and meteoric diagenesis, which are secondary controls on distribution of reservoir quality facies in carbonate dominated sediments. That being said, I'll close out I'll end the presentation. And before that, I want to thank all the people who have supported us, and I'll take any questions.